Hi guys, I'm Andy.
And I'm Joe, and we're here from Heart of the Game.
We're here today with our fourth installment of the Budget Commander series.
Today we're going to be talking about 5 cards for under $1 and 5 cards that are under $5. And today we're going to be covering red.
Now, this isn't the end-all be-all of Commander budget cards. They're just ones that we're looking at and believe should be utilized more.
Now, not every deck should play all of these cards, but most decks would benefit from most of them. Our first $1 or less red card is Young Pyromancer. Young Pyromancer is an incredibly powerful card when you're casting instants and sorceries.
It allows you to just generate a field out of nowhere, whether you're casting cantrips like Ponder, Preordain, or just using removal spells. You can just get a pretty large field with just doing what you want to during the game.
Yeah, and usually Spellslinger decks that would want to play Young Pyromancer don't generally create a board state, so they're weak to someone having lots of creatures. This sort of mitigates that weakness for Spellslinger decks.
Our second card today is Dualcaster Mage. Now, this is a nice little body with a very unique effect. When he enters the battlefield, you get to copy an instant or sorcery that's on the stack.
Yeah, this is incredibly unique because I can only think of one other creature that has an effect like it, and that is in blue. So if you're maybe not in blue, you still get to have the copy an instant or sorcery effect.
It's super nice because it also gives red the ability to counterspell, because if your opponent was about to counter a spell that you were playing, you can play your Dualcaster Mage, copy the counterspell, and counter it right back.
It can combo with cards like Ghostly Flicker and Illusionist Stratagem. If you use Ghostly Flicker, you'll be able to generate infinite mana, and if you use Illusionist Stratagem, it will allow you to draw your whole deck.
Plus, you can just use it on your own spells as a super advantage. Like, you're about to cast Demonic Tutor, you cast it, play your Dualcaster Mage, and copy it, and you have 2 Demonic Tutors. That's really good.
Our next card is Hour of Devastation. Now, there's not a lot of board wipes that exist in Magic that can deal with Indestructible or Planeswalkers. This card deals with both of those types of effects.
And most creatures have a toughness smaller than 5, so it's going to destroy most of them, and unless the Planeswalker is about to ult, it's also going to destroy the Planeswalkers on the field as well.
Yeah, I usually struggle to deal with Planeswalkers because I don't really play a lot of creatures to attack them down, but when I cast an Hour of Devastation to deal with all of those Planeswalkers, it feels pretty amazing.
So for our fourth card today, we're cheating just a little bit. We're including all cards that do damage to your opponents on the cast of instant or sorceries. The first one is Gutter Snipe, then Firebrand Archer, Electrostatic Field, and Thermo Alchemist.
The reason that we think all of these are grouped together is because they basically all fill the same deck slot, because they're going to be phenomenal when you pair them with some sort of Curiosity effect, because they deal the damage to each of your opponents. Which means if I cast a Lightning Bolt to try and kill someone's creature, I will trigger my Gutter Snipe, have Gutter Snipe deal a damage to each of my opponents, which will then trigger my Curiosity effect, which will then allow me to draw 3 cards.
Now, it's also super useful because most Spellslinger decks don't usually get incremental damage in just from their effects, and these guys allow you to do that.
Our last $1 or less red card that we think should see a little bit more play is Red Elemental Blast. Red Elemental Blast is incredibly useful because it is incredibly versatile. You may not think that it's versatile because it will only affect blue cards, but most of the time, at least when I'm playing, I see most of my opponents play blue.
Even if it's only one, it's not that big a deal. Plus, it can deal with troublesome permanent types that are blue, such as Rhystic Study or Back to Basics.
Yeah, and it allows you to back up your spells, like if you cast your commander and you don't want it getting countered, you can cast a Red Elemental Blast if they try to counter your commander.
Our first $5 or less card is Lightning Bolt. This is a staple of every other format that it's playable in, and people just don't use it.
Yeah, for whatever reason that is, whether they don't think that it's viable because it's only 3 damage, or they just don't think about it because they don't realize that it's actually useful as a removal spell. But it's a 1-mana removal spell. We don't have very many of those.
No, and it hits most creatures and can be dealt to planeswalkers or players. Now, I agree that 3 damage in Commander is relatively insignificant to a life total.
But it's really significant when your opponent has a 2 toughness or 3 toughness creature, or after they block with a 4 or 5 toughness creature. Our next card we're definitely cheating a little bit on, and that's because it fills the same slot as our last card and the next card. We're talking about Abrade and Vandal Blast.
This puts you at kind of a crossroads between whether or not you have creatures that you want to kill, or if there are tons of artifacts around that you want to just destroy all of.
Yeah, so if your friend has an artifact-based deck that they play pretty frequently, we would recommend playing Vandal Blast because it's going to feel really good to destroy all of their artifacts.
But if your meta is mostly creatures, you're going to want to just be able to destroy little creatures here and there. And they both have the option of killing one artifact without a problem.
Yeah, so if you are mostly in a creature-based meta, but there are still some artifacts, Abrade is literally the perfect card for you.
Our next card today is Inferno Titan. Now, this 6/6 body with fire breathing is spectacular because of the Titan Claws.
Yeah, so the Titan Claws is whenever something enters or attacks, it has some sort of effect. And this one is going to give you some virtual card advantage because you're going to be able to kill some small creatures or be able to pressure a life total a little bit more because maybe someone's only at 10.
And the fact that it's not just 3 damage to one target, it's 3 damage divided among targets. So if there's a Notion Thief out, if there's a Bloom Tender out, and if there's just a Bird of Paradise out, I can kill all 3 with this one card.
Yeah, being able to kill 1 toughness hate bears is something that people often overlook when deck building, and this card does a phenomenal job at removing annoying little creatures. Our next card is Chaos Warp. Now, 3 mana for a removal spell does not sound particularly good.
But the versatility of this card makes up for that mana cost entirely. It can answer a troublesome land, creature, planeswalker, enchantment, literally any permanent type.
Yeah, because in red, you don't really have a whole lot of answers to enchantments. This card is going to be about the best thing you can do to deal with a troublesome enchantment like Rhystic Study or Back to Basics.
Not to mention, if you want to, you can just use this card on one of your own permanents and hope that after you shuffle your library, you're going to get something large onto the field like an Ulamog.
Speaking of Ulamog, this card can also deal with Indestructible, which is another thing that Red often struggles to deal with because most of your removal is going to be damage-based.
Our last card today is one of my personal favorites. If I'm ever in red, I am using this card. It's Atali, the Primal Storm.
This card is incredible. It is card advantage, which Red doesn't have a lot of. It is mana advantage, because you do the things for free. And that makes it sound a lot like another 6-drop that does both of those things that we mentioned last video. Bolus's Citadel.
Plus, in addition to that, if it's out on the field, your opponents probably aren't going to try and use their top deck tutors much.
Yeah, because top deck tutors get a lot worse when your opponent's going to be able to play the top card of your deck.
Plus, Atali's 6/6 body isn't anything too shabby to look at either.
So those were some pretty spectacular cards that we think more people should play in their red commander decks.
Whether it's the card advantage of Atali or just the versatile removal of Chaos Warp.
Regardless, they're all very effective at doing what they want to do. If you missed any of our previous videos, the most recent 2 are here.
And if you have yet to subscribe to us, go ahead and click here. Thank you for watching.